Well, hello everybody. It's a beautiful November day here in East Tennessee, and I received many questions from you all about spikes. So today is going to be spike discussion day. So we're going to talk about primary spikes, secondary spikes, and what I do with my old spikes that don't bloom anymore. And let's start off with what is a primary spike. I'm going to be showing you today my phal, my very large phal, that I nicknamed Splendid. Okay, this spike right here is the very first time that this one's bloomed. So that's called a primary spike. Okay, this one right here is a secondary spike. It's bloomed before, and when it branches and when it blooms again, that is referred to as a secondary spike. And here's an old brown spike. It's not going to bloom anymore. And several of you have asked me, are you leaving those on your plants? Yes. I'm using raffia, and I'm using it as a support for the new spikes that are still blooming. This still has some structural integrity to it. And so what I do is I cut it off right below where the blooms were, and this serves as a very good stake for the other spikes. So as you see, this one is going to bloom beautifully. There's lots and lots of branching going on here, so this is going to be a beautiful bloom cycle on this Phalaenopsis. And here is my little purple miniature Phalaenopsis. I don't know the name of this one, but as you see, I've got two primary spikes coming out on it. Do you notice how many leaves are on this plant? When I first started growing orchids 20 years ago, it was unheard of to have this many leaves. It was unheard of to have this many spikes, 2 spikes on a plant. Wow, the first time I saw that, I thought that is magical. So when you're looking for new plants, make sure you're looking for the ones that have lots of leaves. Those are your healthiest ones. And this one is Phal Soho Vivian. And this one has 2 primary spikes that have just started down at the base of this plant. And also we've got a secondary spike here. See, these are where the flowers were last year. And I've also got a secondary spike right here. See, that's where the flowers were the last bloom cycle. So I don't cut those back until they turn brown, because I want the plant to be able to recycle as many nutrients from the old part of the spike as it possibly can. And I have 2 Phal Soho Lawrence Tahiti Sunsets. I love this plant. It looks very, very much like a species phal when it blooms. And both of these have primary spikes. Let me show you. Here, this one just started. There's the spike right in there. Can't get a good picture of it, but it's there. And then I left the last spike. This is a secondary spike, and as you see, I think I'm going to get flowers right in here. So that's the reason why you don't cut your secondary spikes unless they turn brown, and if they help you to support the new spikes, then I just leave them on there. And here's my miniature phal Little Gem Stripes. It is white with a purple lip, double spike on this one as well. Can't wait to see this one bloom. It's magnificent when it blooms. And I said last week in a video that my Dendrobiums aren't spiking yet. Yes, they are. I found some spikes on that very large one that you see in the corner. It's a no ID when it blooms again. If someone knows the ID to that one, I would be glad to have the name to that. And I also have 2 Burana Jade Fantasies, and this one has a spike. Let me see if I can find it. Yes, after one of my videos, I looked down and there was a spike, as if to say, yes, I do have a spike. Here it is. Here I am. And what's interesting to me is the one that's in the dark blue pot. That is also Burana Jade Fantasy. It has not spiked yet. The terminal leaf came out on that one later than the first one that I just showed you. So it just goes to show, even in the same grow conditions, in the same grow area, the same plant can have like two different results. One of them's going to spike a little bit before the other one, but it will spike soon, I'm sure. And of course, I've shown you all several times my beautiful little miniature Dendrobium Salata Champu. I think this is such a pretty little Dendrobium, and it matches this African violet so very well. Look at the bloom on this African violet. This one is called Amor Delight. My sister gave these to me last year. They were teeny tiny little things. They're not teeny tiny anymore. This is one of them. I've really enjoyed growing these African violets. I haven't grown African violets since I was a teenager. My grandmother grew them, and so she taught me how. And this one is called Frozen in Time. And look at these variegated leaves, and look at the beautiful purple veining in those blooms. Gorgeous African violets. And let's get back to spikes. Okay, this is my white miniature Phalaenopsis that I called Star. It has two primary spikes, and look at the secondary spikes. You see, I just kind of tied them together with raffia, and I am noticing some branching going on in these secondary spikes. So I'm sure I'm going to get some blooms off of these spikes as well. What I'm going to do is, okay, this is where this one bloomed the last time. This is where the last bloom was. So when I'm sorry, up here, this is where the end of the blooms was on this spike. So I'll cut it back to right here. You see, this is a node, and this was where a flower was. So when this turns brown, I'll cut it back to here. So that's what I'm going to do with these spikes. And my Cattleya, it has flower sheaths everywhere. I have many of them this year. This is a 20-year-old miniature Cattleya, and it's its own Cattleya forest. Look at all this. Beautiful Cattleya. And here is Foul Magic Art. Got a new primary spike on this one. This one is going to bloom very profusely this year. What happened was, this is a very heavy plant. This one spans about 3 feet. It's gigantic. And last year I was moving it to water it, and the spike broke. Yes, that was not easy, but this bloom cycle is going to be a good one. I just know it. And here is Foul Xianchin Diamond. And when I bought this plant, just look at how healthy this plant is. I bought the plant, it had 11 leaves. Now it has 13 leaves. Very beautiful. And it has a primary spike, and it has a secondary spike that is coming out of flower. This one has just bloomed profusely ever since I got it 2 years ago. And here's the huge 3-foot long spike on Foul Brother Pirate King. Look at all the branching that's going on here. It's amazing. The plant, my husband gave it to me for my birthday about 4 years ago. It's one of the most beautiful plants I ever saw. And look what I found today that was hiding under a leaf. A second primary spike. So this is a very happy orchid. Just look at all the leaves. This one has about 12 leaves as well. You want as many leaves on your plant as you can possibly have. And here is my foul sandy beach. Double spike on this one. This one is in waterculture. I just got through doing a waterculture video on this one. It's doing very well. And this one is foul Marianne. It's gigantic. It's in a huge, huge pot. And as you see, I've kept back the old spikes on this one, and I've used it to anchor back this spike. And I'm sure that I'm going to be getting some secondary spikes on this one. And also, let me show you the primary spike on the back of this plant. There it is between the leaves. And you see how I'm going to be able to train it up this old spike. These older spikes, when they dry up, some of them dry up and they don't, and they're really flimsy, and I wouldn't keep those. But these are strong. They're more like a bamboo stake that you pay money for, that you order. So as long as they are helping to support the structure of the plant or to help support some blooms, a bloom spike, I'm going to keep them on there. And here's my only foul that's growing inside right now. She just wouldn't fit back in my sunroom, so I've got her in front of this eastern facing window in my living room. I've got some plants in here anyway, and I like the way she looks back here. And she's so huge. I've had this plant for about 15 years. And as you see, I've got a beautiful primary spike here, and I also have two old spikes that I am sure those are going to have some more blooms on them in the future. So I had to share that with you. This one is Foul Brothers Red Caribe. Gorgeous, gorgeous foul. So thanks so much for going on my Spikes and Blooms tour. Hope you all enjoyed it. And I would love to say the blessing over you all. The Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. Y'all make it a great day, and thanks again for watching.